Okay, welcome back. Hour number 2. Going to go long distance. I'm not going to tell you where. To welcome back to the program. He was on in May, and before that, years ago, Brendon O'Connell, often known as BOC, and he has earned a reputation, rightly, as being one of the great truth tellers of our time. No joke. He is not afraid. He has paid the price. He has been there. He has confronted the enemy. Now, the enemy in this case would have to be considered that foreign country and all of its tentacles, which extend virtually everywhere, and their efforts to continually subjugate and parasitize these formerly United States of America. They have taken everything they can and then some. I don't know how many bombs, how many munitions, how many jet fighter aircraft we have given them. They don't pay back. They get what they want. We are their cash cow, their cash ATM, if you will. It's a joke. And they are in this country so deep and so intrinsically now that I don't know how we can get out of it. They own the professions, basically. They own the education system. They certainly created the entire entertainment bedrock that we look to for fun and amusement, movies, TV, doesn't matter. They own politics, right? They own control of the military through politics. They own Trump. I could go on and on. How about medical? How about investment? How about real estate? These people are not normal people. I won't say they're bad, abnormal people. I'll just say they're different. And they know our weakness. And they have certainly, I think, taken full and absolute advantage of that for far too long. We're never going to recover from this. I don't know how. Because to do so would require wholesale, I think, availability to the mass of American people. How are we going to get that when they own all the media? Ain't going to happen. So how do we do it? Social media? Try it and see how far you get. You'll get banned or shadow banned real quick. So anyway, it's quite a problem. It's good that we have a constitution that is still, I think, formidable enough to scare some of these communists in government. And the First Amendment is everything. If we lose the First Amendment, we're gone. America is a memory. It'll be corrupted in history as it's portrayed, etc. You know the game. So let's welcome Brendon O'Connell back to the program. Hello, my friend. Glad to have you on again.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you. Thank you for being the only one to push this issue. Literally, Jeff Rense is literally the only large-scale with a reasonable audience of anyone. You've been around forever, since the days of George and Orwell, well before Alex Jones and the rest of them. And you're the only one that will talk about this. How is that even possible? And that's how locked up they have this.
Yeah.
And you're the only one to say Mary Silva's name. We've been pushing Mary Silva, congressional candidate, for 2 years. Can't get her an interview.
Well, no, I'm very honored to have her on the program. I'll have her back again. We're going to do our best to help her. She's fighting an incredible uphill battle, but she's fighting on the side of truth. And when she speaks, honest and honorable people will hear that. And that's essential. Our political class is the Epstein class. It is so perverted, so corrupt, so rotten, and her opponent, or the one who she's hoping to send home for a long vacation, has been in the office for 14 years now, I think. Nobody should be in government on the national level for 14 years. Sorry. Go home. 3 terms and go home. 6 years is plenty. 1 term in the Senate, go home. 6 years is plenty. That's my take.
Well, F. Scott Fitzgerald said the test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold 2 opposing ideas in the mind and still retain the ability to function, meaning it all appears hopeless and we're going to fight anyway.
Yeah.
We're going to fight anyway.
Oh, yeah. How did you come across, and if you don't know and you missed Mary's visit on the program recently, it's in the archives and hopefully your subscribers, but she's a real jewel. She's just wonderful. She speaks the truth. She's an intelligent woman. She's a mother. She's working to win the seat in the 1st Congressional District in Washington State. And I really hope that happens. I know it's dangerous, to do that and to run for politics now, and I mean that. But she's fearless. She's a great American. And I just, when did you first run into her?
Well, we were holding online meetings. I had a couple of PhDs, one from Tulsa, Oklahoma, Julian Romanello, who was exposing Unit 8200 in the University of Oklahoma, and George Kaiser, a hardcore Zionist, banker, probably a drug money launderer. And we had another PhD, Paola, from Italy. She's very interesting. And Mary started turning up. She watched a video, got a link with her friend Dawn, and went, you know what? My God, he's right. I couldn't believe this. And she'd been involved with Ron Paul stuff. And everyone just started talking. And I said, you've got to get offline. It's locked up. As Pat Berge says, they put us in an echo chamber. There's chatbots. You're not seen. And so she started going to meetings, and I wrote a partial script for her, and she took it, refined it, and presented it for 8 minutes in front of 300 top-level Republicans. Microsoft completely penetrated, Boeing, Intel Corporation, The Water, Rad Group Corporation, all Israeli companies. And it's just amazing. That was over 2 years ago, and we thought, wow, going to break through now. And they were having hissy fits. Hissy fits the Republican Party.
Wow. Well, it's all money, as you know, and they're all bribed, blackmailed. They're just dupes, most of them. I'm not sure.
It doesn't have to be the Epstein stuff. It can just be the IRS.
Anything. You're correct. No, it's totally correct. It's above all predicated on greed, money, and control. And don't forget that, friends. Those are perhaps the three most important aspects of how this game is played now. Well, in the first district up there, she's running against somebody who's got big Jewish money, been there for 14 years, I think it is, and that's going to be a tough way to go. Look what they did to, they spent $30 million, didn't they? Getting rid of, what's his name, in Maryland? The only good congressman we had. Anyway, I can't think of his name at the moment. But Massey, they got rid of Tom Massey. Now, I didn't think it was going to happen. I think they spent $30 million. Kentucky, I beg your pardon. Thank you.
But he actually got more money than AIPAC. Why? I think it's electronic voting.
They can do anything they want, can't they? I mean, you're right. I don't withhold that for a second. I think every election is quite riggable, and many have been fixed. I don't think they're real. I don't.
But Thomas
even with
also kept very, very quiet on very deep issues. Mary's leading on 9/11 investigation. Matthew wouldn't have a bar of it. He wouldn't touch it. And Mary spoke to all his staff. They were very friendly. They took all the information, the critical infrastructure, Chris Bollin stuff, 9/11. And he even replied to her, but he won't say a word. And I don't trust that at all. I think he could toss a bone, but he won't even do that. You're hanging out with Tucker Carlson, CIA boy. That guy, I mean, geez, no, not a chance.
They're pulling it off with Tucker. They're pulling it off. He's getting a bigger audience.
Cambridge Analytica, and Candace Owens' boyfriend, the gay boyfriend, is Lord Farmer's son. He's in the House of Lords, and he's a central banker and metal trader out of the City of London. And his best friend is King Charles and Lord Rothschild at the Council of Christians and Jews. And I think people, can't you see what's going on here?
This is Candace Owens you're talking about?
Yeah, Candace Owens, and he just goes on all Big Ten.
Yeah, you're a little bit fading on the connection here. I hear you.
I can see it. Yeah.
Oh, they're suppressing it. I bet you anything. They're suppressing the audio just enough to be an irritant, but just speak slowly and we can hear you. It's just a little bit mushy, and it just happened. It was fine in the beginning, crystal clear, and then it went mush. So there you go.
The point is Candace Owens is 1 degree of separation from the old Rothschild City of London network by a Lord Farmer. That's her father-in-law.
Wow.
That's her father-in-law. And people go, but she's criticizing the Jews. I said, yes, because they're trying to break off U.S. public opinion from Israel and stop America taking out. Look, they've got rid of Putin, who's in bed with the Rothschilds, via Gerhard Schroeder. Gerhard Schroeder is on the board of Rothschild, and that's his best friend. He's on the board of Gazprom. And you try to tell people, Dear Klaus, friends for 32 years, Klaus Schwab saying, oh, we penetrate the cabinets, Angela Merkel, good old Vladimir Putin, they're all young global leaders. I'm sorry, how's he fighting the globalists when he's in bed with them?
How do you fight the enemy when you're in bed with them? I have always said for years, I have no proof, but the way it appears to me, Brendon, is that both Ukraine and Russia, but different levels, Ukraine is run by Jewish oligarchs. Russia is run by Jewish oligarchs. Putin was raised in part by a Jewish family. He's controlled. Russia is not a freelance individual nation state anymore. It's part of the matrix. That's why Putin hasn't been able to win a war in 4 years, because Zelensky is a Jew, and the Jewish oligarchs in Ukraine are running the show there. It's all about big money. They got a military-industrial complex there too, friends. Don't forget that. And how much money has been ripped off and stolen by Zelensky and his cronies? Billions and billions. That's how much, in my view.
He's wild. He's absolutely wild. He's cocaine, cross-dressing. He's wild. He
is. I agree. Yep. So anyway, that's the deal.
Not the Slavs. That's their sport. Kill as many Slavs as possible the last 100+ years.
Say that one more time.
It seems to be their national sport to kill off as many Slavs as possible for the last 100+ years.
Got it. All right, that helps. Whatever you just did, stay with that format. That got clearer. Yes. I guess the big question is how trying to break through the Holocaust myth and get Americans to the point where they'll be able to set that aside as being highly questionable at the least. How do we do that? How do you do that when you don't have access to the media, to the television, to the radio, what's left of it? You have access to the internet. You can post what you want. If you're part of a big organization, they'll kick your butt out real quick. That's not it. So you're basically a solo operator. That's what it really is. I don't know how many people watch you and read your work. They all should, just to get another viewpoint, if nothing else. I mean, we're not asking you to believe what we're saying here. We're asking you to consider it, and if it fits, fine. If not, put it on the shelf. But at least understand it. That's the key. Understand it. And then you do what you want. Anyhow.
And also past this prologue, Jeff. These things have happened before.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the infiltration of the upper echelons of society. I mean, Peter Wright was the second in charge of MI5, counterintelligence. And he said half the British establishment, including Victor Rothschild, that's Lord Jacob Rothschild's daddy, was Soviet assets. Now, what does that mean, Soviet assets?
Wow.
Well, it means City of London assets. This isn't the Brits. It's not really London. It's not really Paris or Frankfurt. They're not German nationalists. They're certainly not American nationalists. These are internationalist Bolshevik Trotskyites, and they're in fine tailored Armani suits. And we've got to get out of our head the distraction that is AOC or the half-witted Jewish teenagers that Nixon complained about to Kissinger. That's the distraction. The real ones are in Wall Street. They're Lutnick's buddies, Howard Lutnick. They're in Armani suits. They couldn't give a damn about the average Jew.
No.
They'd kill 10 million of their own if they got what they wanted, easily.
Interesting. Here's a very important aspect that not many can understand easily. It's hard for them, and I get that. First of all, Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson are saying verboten things about Jews and Jewish control. How dare they? And the question people ask me is, well, if they're saying these things, how come they're not being held accountable by the Zionist machine? And I try to explain to them the bigger picture. It's very hard to do. And Candace Owens, 4 children, saying all the proper things, and that crazy Beef Stew Peters is another one. He's wild to watch. So these people are not doing this without permission or encouragement or even incitement to do so. This is part of their plan. Go ahead. Anything to add?
They all came they all woke up around 2023. Why? Because Xi Jinping, under orders from the City of London, his masters, remember who put Xi Jinping in, and Putin? It's Heinz Kissinger, good old Henry Kissinger, the right hand of Rothschild, Council on Foreign Relations, all the think tanks, the Trilateral Commission, Zbig Brzezinski, all the crew. They put in Putin with Yevgeny Primakov, the head of the KGB, or the SVR, and then the head of the Communist Party, and the head of the Foreign Office over there in Russia. All their bank accounts are in London. All roads lead to London. This isn't about Brits. These are internationalist Trotskyites, revolutionaries with billion-dollar credit cards. And little Candy pops along in 2023. Xi Jinping unleashes TikTok. Why? Because the multipolar world order was off, and he knew it, and he was under orders. They released that virus, and the point was to get Trump back under control. Kissinger put him in with Jared Kushner and Chabad and Madison Pompeo. You don't have to like them, but they were the ones that got it under control and told Bibi, you are no longer hanging out with China and Putin anymore. And there's Putin, the hero, the savior who's fighting Israel. I'm sorry, he's so in bed with Benjamin Netanyahu. They're practically in a gay-loving relationship, and they've been transferring technology hand over fist into Russia. And if Putin's such a hero, he's managed to get his best generals.
Yeah.
So this is just on the record.
It's all on the record. I tried to tell people for a long, long time that Russia has a Jewish oligarchy that is hidden largely. It's not talked about, but it is the ultimate power source in that country. And that goes right to Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv, by the way, is considered to be the most sexually deviant city in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Beyond LGBTQ. And drugs.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
and drugs.
Pedophilia, drugs, you name it. It's all there.
But you name it. It's a big military base.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll go with that.
Well, look at Boris Berezovsky, the one who put the money into Putin with Yevgeny Primakov. So Putin put on a big show. In 2002, the military had enough of Putin, and they put up General Lebed. And General Lebed was going to run. He was a governor. He was a bit like Zhukov when Stalin got rid of Zhukov, because he was actually a Russian nationalist.
Lebed, Lebed. I got it.
Lebed. And I know a British para who was doing skydiving stuff, and he met him. He said the KGB was shaking him down for blue, because they did try to sell some Levi's and make some money while they were there. And he said the KGB put him up at the airport and wouldn't let him go until they paid money. And so Lebed heard about it, burst in, abused the crap out of the KGB, and apologized profusely with his translator and got him on the plane. And he said, the guy's awesome. No one's heard of General Lebed. And what happened? He died in a helicopter crash, and Putin kept on keeping on. And when the military agitated again in 2007, he had to do a big show, and he got Oleg Deripaska and started making them all line up, and he shook his finger at them, and he saved Russia from the horrible oligarchs. And what did he do? Got rid of a bunch of them who he didn't like Berezovsky. They all run to London where their bank accounts are, right next door to Putin's bank account, and all their kids are in private schools in London. And lo and behold, Putin's got more Jewish oligarchs, just different ones hanging by his side. I mean, it's in front of people's faces, Jeff.
You know, the sad thing, one of the saddest things I watched happen was, I think this is important, Yevgeny Prigozhin really started something unique and unusual, from all I can determine, in Russia. He had, with his Wagner volunteer military force, over 150 recruiting offices popped up all over Russia. People were trying to volunteer to join and fight for real Russia against the Zionists who were conquering and destroying Ukraine. And what happened? What was Prigozhin's reward? They killed him. Same old thing.
Not only Prigozhin, and look at the way they slander him. Oh, he's just some hot dog guy. Excuse me, the guy was a logistical expert, and he was brave. He went right to the front line and got on top of buildings. Yep. You're not going to see Putin do that.
No. I was very impressed with Prigozhin, and it was kind of sickening to watch how they got rid of him. He was really against the bureaucracy that was running the military operation, and he hated it. He wanted real people, real tacticians, real strategists. Now, here we have a war in Ukraine that's been going on for how long, Brendon? Over 4 years. And you're going to tell me that Russia couldn't defeat this ragtag, poor, tragic group in Ukraine who are being liquidated by the Zionists, Zelensky? These are Christian men and women who are being slaughtered on the front lines. Over 1 million of them, well over 1 million now. So you want to talk about a Christian Holocaust? Here's just one example. It's Zelensky killing off more Christians. 14 to 15 million have fled the country. They'll never come back. So you're going to see eventually Ukraine, in all likelihood, being something like an extension of Israel. This may be a greater Israel, southern, but I don't know how they're going to phrase it, but it's all being done right out in plain view. You can't miss it if you're open-minded and honest about it.
Well, yeah, and also, not only is Zelensky a horrid, nasty, horrible little cokehead cross-dresser, this is well known. This is absolutely legendary in Ukraine. He's hated by the troops. People don't get it. It's not a lie. He's hated.
Yeah. Yep.
The General Zaluzny was a good man. They got rid of him. He said for this attack, he said, I could have won. But you said you wouldn't give me the equipment.
Zaluzny? You like, you're talking about who?
General Zaluzny, the guy they fired.
Okay. You got a little, get that phone, use that phone the way you're using it before.
How about now?
There you go. That's better. Better. Okay, please continue and actually rephrase. Well, listen, they've been at it for a long time. Now they've got tech, lots and lots of tech, and I'm just.
They own it all. Every telecommunications company, you name it, they own it.
AI, come on, Zuckerberg, Sammy Altman, the Altman I call him. It's all the same group.
Jakob Hellberg, the boyfriend of Ken Raboy, who Sam Altman was at his wedding.
Well,
he's from France. He's a Chabad Lubavitcher, and he's in charge of Silica. He doesn't have a single qualification.
Peter Thiel, Palantir. Come on, it's all there. By the way, the day before the election, Trump was taken by Benny Shapiro, I'm pretty sure I'm right, to New York to pray at Menachem Schneerson's crypt at the Lubavitch headquarters. They got him somehow buried there. I don't know how they did it. But why is a presidential candidate going to pray at the crypt of a Chabad Lubavitch, well, he was the founder, basically, at his grave the day before the American election? What does that tell you, friends? Anything at all? It should. Anyhow.
Yeah, but look who else was there. Mandami, the communist, is down there praying with them. So, you know.
He was? I didn't know that. I missed that one.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, he was. After the Chabad was shot in Sydney by those guys. At least they targeted the right people, even though there were women and children there. I'm sorry, you're racist, lunatic, mass murdering who are calling for the slaughter of Palestinians. You've lost all right to life yourself. I mean, it's disgusting. And at least it wasn't a shooting up a school.
Speaking of Gaza, it's become, I think, profoundly obvious that the Jews in Gaza, not all of them necessarily, but most of the Jews in the IDF in Gaza love to kill children. Second favorite target, hospitals, ambulances, paramedics. They've destroyed the infrastructure of the whole place. It's just a mess now. 90% of the people or more are living in tents, and they're bombing tents. What kind of people do that? Who does that?
Well, it's all
and they're bombing.
That's what that. Michael Hoffman said that. They call them Amalekites out of the book of Samuel, where God says, slay them all, spare them not, kill man, woman, infant.
That's what they're
infant
doing.
And suckling. Yeah, kill little children. And even secular academics quote stuff like that. Hannah Kasher was quoting that from Bar-Ilan University. Oh, we can justify the collective punishment of innocent civilians. Let's go back to our Old Testament. It's like, wait a minute. There's a context to that, number one. But look, I can say this, Jeff, is that most of my information comes from Jews and the Israeli press. So it's the Goy press that seem to be suppressing all this. I can get all the stuff I need out of the Israeli press. So
and who owns most of the Goy press? Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's just strange, isn't it? I realise sometimes we don't have a Jew problem, we've got a Goy problem. They're lazy, and they seem to just sell out for shekels.
They roll over.
A few temple shekels.
They literally roll over, most of them. They roll over money, or they get threatened, or if they're really an honorable person, they might have to set them up somehow and blackmail them. But whatever, you're right. It is a Goy problem.
Well,
that's
just
well
their router. Just imagine, Jeff, you're starting out, you're going to run for office, and your router doesn't work. You can't get on the internet. What are you going to do for work? What are you going to do for the kids' homework? What about the wife's recipe? They can put the pressure on you as easy as that. As easy as that. The only good thing is, Jeff, the only hope that I see is the fact that I'm still alive, and there's enough good people out there in the intelligence community who've warned for 50 years about this stuff. And they have warned and warned and warned. And I do believe there are moves to tampen this down. Just from the Jews that contacted me, who clearly have high-level security clearances, clearly. And I've had State Department officials contact me, high-level Australian intelligence. I've had ministers. I've had senators. And Mary's also finding when she talks national security, don't go, United Nations, the poor little brown people are being killed. No one cares. But when you say they're ripping us off, they're stealing our money, stealing our tech, and opening doors for China, suddenly everyone's interested.
Well, all right. And I guess we should also mention that those people, Jewish people who came to you with information, who have come to you, who will come to you in the future, there's some real honorable people in that group that know what's being done. And I don't know how they present it to you. Can you give me a characterization? How do they feel about what's being done in their name?
Well, they're scared and they're very pro-America. And they said to me that Israel is a SHIT hole filled with Russian gangsters. Most of them are not even Jewish by any measure whatsoever. And Ehud Barak was talking to Epstein on that audio saying we've got to get as many Russians in as possible, electrical engineers, aircraft technicians,
missile
technicians.
I didn't know this. This is interesting.
Oh, yeah. And that's how they had to run their Intel fabrication factory. So Putin's been piling in the Russian GRU assets and so on to penetrate both Israel and the United States. And that's their doorway.
Well, all right. So for all of you out there expecting Putin to somehow stand up, and for all of you Russians who may eventually hear this, your man is not going to stand up. It's just not going to happen unless he's told to stand up. That's the real issue here. Your one chance was Yevgeny Prigozhin. And what he showed the world and Russia, I'm sure most Russians have never forgotten. I think that guy deserves a hell of a lot of credit. I always have.
Yeah, look, he was a thug, Jeff. Let's not paint him as a humanitarian, but he was brave, he was very smart, and they just can't wait to slander his name. I think he loved his country, and they call him a St. Petersburg Jew. I think that Putin was pushing that. It's like, dude, he's not the one running around getting all the soldiers killed. There was another general, General Armageddon, they call him. I think he's been transferred to Africa, and there's a paratroop regiment, Russian paratroop regiment general who was good. They put him under house arrest. So basically all the good generals and their officers are dead or in jail. Now, why would you do that?
Yes. It gets to be the point where you just have to laugh. Sad, 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 sad. The news we see in the controlled Zionist media, directly or indirectly controlled, is what they want us to see. And you never want to forget that. You don't have access to the truth. You don't have access to reality in most cases. It just doesn't happen. They won't allow it. Remember Shoigu, who was the, what the hell was he, like defense secretary or something? Shoigu.
Yeah, he's the big boss. He's still there.
I can't remember. Yeah, he's still there. They kicked him upstairs, though. They kicked him upstairs because of Prigozhin, I do believe. It happened about 3, 4, 5 months after Prigozhin was murdered. He pointed out to Putin, he wanted to talk to Putin. He actually, I guess, believed there was a way to get rid of Shoigu. Shoigu was a bureaucrat, no military experience to speak of, and Prigozhin knew it. He said, that guy is doing more to prevent us from winning this war than anyone else. He's got to go. And he did go, but not soon enough. And that was the real reason that he ostensibly was pushing so hard on this. Shoigu, a bureaucrat following orders, doing nothing but mouthing, nothing important, no military tactics, no strategic moves, nothing. He was a loser, Shoigu. But he was there because they wanted him there. So anyway, it's the same old thing. We've got a lot of them over here. Look at Pete Hegemon in the pentagram. I did say pentagram. Pete Hegemon, that's what I call him now. The guy's a punk. He's just an idiot. And I've heard that too. I think the biggest thing here was when Trump allegedly, at a meeting of the JCS, demanded the nuclear codes be given to him so he could order a strike right then and there on Iran, apparently. And General Dan Kane refused the order, and was seen to have come out of that meeting with his head hanging down. Maybe he thought he was going to be arrested.
Because they want to push Trump as the madman, like Richard Nixon was pushing himself as a madman and unstable.
Tell us about Trump. What do we have? Who is Trump?
He's an actor. He's a World Wrestling Federation actor and failed businessman.
He's in the Hall of Fame. Where he's WWE Hall of Fame. He's that good of an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But look, he's done, the Trump administration on the whole has made America strong. Don't you believe it? They control the Straits of Hormuz now. Don't believe a word that Iran, I was in Iran.
The Iranians are a joke. They're so corrupt. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was for real. They got rid of him. He complained just like Prigozhin, all the corruption, the corrupt clerics, and then they complained, if you call the clerics corrupt, the Ayatollah's corrupt, so you're going after the Ayatollah. And he just said, yep. Well, he didn't say it, but that was his thing. And he said the people are being destroyed. His speech was like Trump's American Carnage speech, which was written by Steve Bannon, which was the young people can't afford homes. We can't have any manufacturing. You're not going to defeat the United States. We have to get smarter. And he wanted to keep the nuclear program going as a bartering chip, knowing they were never going to be allowed to have it. Never. And what did they do to him? They got rid of him and stopped him from running. And the only reason they didn't kill Ahmadinejad is because he was so popular with the poor in Iran. It's the same old goal.
Interesting. It doesn't matter on what side of the street a nation-state may be sitting, standing, or groveling. They're all basically situated on the same kind of financial power, egomaniacal hierarchy, aren't they? It's the same thing in every country.
Well, hey, Jeff, you mean the president of Iran, when I was there in 2017, 2016, was Rouhani. Rouhani's best friends with Lord Levi and Jack Straw. That's best friends with Lord Palmer. That's Candace's daddy-in-law. He's best friends with all those people. He spent 6 years back and forth to Scotland doing his PhD in Sharia law. And Zarif, the foreign minister, who was writing my letters for my political asylum, is still best friends with John Kerry. Their children go to each other's weddings. His own kids are American citizens. And he spent 30 years in the United States, and he's advising Pressure Khan, the president, right now. And he's always at Chatham House. Now, you tell me if you think Iran is it's a globalist asset.
Well, it's a soap opera game, friends. It's a fraud. It's all a fraud. I must say, though, it is rather amusing to watch Trump running his mouth. I'm not sure if he can't keep his storylines straight or he actually believes what he says, and because he believes it, it's real. I don't know where the guy... I don't know where he lost it.
He knows he's acting.
I'm sure nobody could pull that off the way he does unless there was some acting involved, and I agree. I think he learned an awful lot from the WWE. I think how it's basically all being predicated. Look at the East Wing of the White House, that whole thing. Don't worry, it'll be $250 million. It may look like Louis XIV's ballroom, but don't worry about that. We need it. The country deserves it, blah, blah, blah. Well, the cost now is estimated to be $900 million, and the admission is that most of that will be borne by the American tax-paying stooge class. $900 million, and you know damn well it's going to end up being 1.5 or more. It will. And it's also, do you know how big it is? Do you know how big this thing is? It's almost twice the size of the entire White House. almost double the size of the entire White House. That's how big this construction is. And they'll do it. And then he wants Mount Rushmore. Don't forget that. I mean, if that doesn't make you chuckle, of course the rest of the clowns on there are just about as bad. Anyhow.
Look, Jeff, I'm a little bit more optimistic than you, and I see positive sides. America is strong. They got rid of Putin out of the Middle East. They're building bases in Israel. So the U.S. is literally taking over Israel. Bringing those Israeli military contractors back in their factories to the U.S. was a good move. Now they'll be under supervision of the CIA counterintelligence, FBI counterintelligence. They have proprietary knowledge that they can't just leave over there. Mm-hmm. So I have a different view to a lot of people. The trouble is, just when you want to praise and say, okay, the clown and his administration are doing good things, he'll walk out and do 10 ridiculous things. And he's like, oh, how can I keep up with this? You know, you're doing meme coins. Drug dealers do meme coins. You get a gift from Qatar, and you spend $200 million of taxpayers' money decking it out, and then you're going to put it in the presidential library. That plane's worth $800 million. You're not putting it in the library. You're going to put it in a trust in the library. Say, oh, it's the trust of the Trump library, but I'm going to fly around in it all day. I mean, is there any links that criminal scum, lowbrow family will not sink, including Don Jr.? And I mean, Don Jr., for crying out loud, is on the board of Tucker Carlson Network while Tucker Carlson attacks Trump. So please,
well, how interesting, friends. I didn't know that. Very interesting.
Well, yeah, Rebecca Mercer, Cambridge Analytica. That's SCL Group, started by Nigel Oakes. You know, Nigel Oakes is friends with Lord Farmer on the House of Lords.
Same.
And Nigel Oakes is doing contracts work for the British Ministry of Defence and NATO. That's who's funding Tucker Carlson. But you try, oh no, he's going after them. No, he's not.
Is he going to run?
It's equivalent of the Jews.
Is Tucker going to run?
So, but he's not. No, he's just not that material, but you would think so. You would think so, but no, someone described him as, I said, what's the background? And they said, there's nothing, Brendon. He's boring. He's a dog looking for a master. He's Dick Cheney. He's like Dick Cheney.
Interesting.
A dog looking for a master, and I thought, yep, that's Tucker Carlson. But no secrets. I mean, Candace Owens is a well-known bisexual, weirdo, crass opportunist, half-bred psychopath lunatic, and people don't get it. But she gets up and she quotes Professor Tony Martin, but doesn't tell me anything else, who showed clearly Jews are running the slave trade. She quotes the Talmud for 3 seconds, but never elaborates. She doesn't get on Reverend Ted Pike. She doesn't get on experts in their field. She doesn't get on Michael Hoffman, a revisionist history. She doesn't explain anything. She just does a little dog whistle and then moves right along. And she's got nothing to say on 9/11.
No, I think you're right. And I don't really patronize her show at all. But you mentioned Reverend Ted Pike. The late Ted Pike was a very good friend of mine. He was a very good friend of mine. I had him on the program for
when did he die?
Several years ago, I believe.
I know his wife, Lynn, died back in 2015.
No, I know that whole story. I had Ted on, I'd say dozens and dozens of times over the years.
Yeah, I know you did, yeah. I watched your interviews with him.
He was a very good man. Very honest man.
And look what they did to him, Jeff.
Yeah.
Look what they did to him.
I know. Well, I won't tell you what they did to me, but I'm still here, so I'm not that far behind in that regard. They have no mercy, these people. Mercy to them doesn't exist. Look what they do in Palestine. Look what they do in Gaza, to be more specific. It just goes on and on. Okay, so the latest poll, if you can believe any polls here, which I don't, has AOC leading the Democrat communists for the next presidential run.
It's just so fake. She's not running. That's to make sure J.D. Vance, the office plant, gets in. No other reason.
Well, it's going to be a Palantir presidency. That's what they want, is it not?
Oh, yeah, and Paul Singer, and they all hate Trump, Paul Singer. It's just a whole big bunch of the old Wall Street clowns. They never go to jail, so they prop up a bunch of half-wits and that idiot. I mean, she's embarrassing, AOC, and they say that's the enemy. That's just the distraction, like the transgender issues. They pump them up, they dig them out from under a bridge. They're usually heroin addicts, and then they write them a bestseller and prop them up as geniuses. And the next minute there's some weird and wacky pop culture moving around, which we all have to fight. But none of us go after the bankers. None of us go after the Wall Street rip-off drug money launderers. They never go to jail. They pay themselves bonuses.
No, there's no accountability. Not in these times, not in this age, no. Do you know the story about AOC? She actually answered a cattle call. I think they had over 100 people, and she won.
It's true. She auditioned.
She did. Thank you. And there was a video by the guy who ran the audition, which is nowhere to be found now. And I happened to see it. He explained the whole thing. He said it was a set. She came. They liked her. That's how she got in. And you're right. She auditioned her way in. There you go. Showbiz. Not politics. Showbiz. That's what it is. And then
Absolutely.
You go back
she
to...
She thrusts her ample bosom out and a big smile, and they thought, oh, yeah, we can use you. You'll do.
No, it's interesting you'd say that. She does spend a lot of time dressing, I think, conservatively, but she's got a physique that she could exploit, and I suggest that you're 100% right in the audition. That's exactly what happened. Interesting. Very few people
don't. She's got some charisma. I mean, she's as dumb as ditchwater, but she does have charisma, and I believe she's actually a sincere halfwit. But I'd like to know more about her boyfriend, who apparently she's split from. I'd like to hear more about him, because I can't find a damn thing about him, and they've just split, apparently.
He knows not to talk, or he's probably dead meat. I don't think we're going to get anything out of him. He knows it all. So, yeah. Yeah, it's like he can't not know it all about her. It's just like Donald Trump being ostensibly, allegedly, purportedly, Epstein's best friend, not in quotes, best friend for about 10 years. You cannot be that close to someone, friendship or otherwise, and not know everything about them, basically. So there's another angle here. And by the way, as you probably also... Pardon me?
I will slightly defend Trump. Remember, I'm about facts, so I will do. I think he's vile. The stuff he says about his daughter is positively weird. If your best friend spoke about his daughter like that, you would report him to the police. So there's something wrong with Donald Trump. We all know that.
It's very creepy. Very creepy.
I can tell you a story given to me by Robert Morrow, who wrote the book The Clintons' War on Women, told to him by Roger Stone, who didn't co-write the book. He just put his name on it. And he said in 2016, when I was pushing Roger Reeves' book, he was the transporter for the Medellin cartel. He knew Barry Seal. He employed Barry Seal. He was Barry Seal's boss. I met him in jail, would you believe, in Perth, Western Australia.
Yeah.
1 ton of cocaine. I got his book published, did the cover, and put it out there, and wrote the intro. And lo and behold, I'm talking to Robert Morrow about trying to push his book before the election, saying, look, he was there when Barry said lunch with the Gov. He says, we don't land on the thing on the highway. And then you got to scrub all the tire marks off. Let's land at Mina. We pay $50,000 a pop, and I'm in with the governor. I have lunch with the Gov, and we get our fuel tanks altered. Let's go. And Roger said, well, I can do it for free. And then Barry said, no, we're going to go there. And that's you've never heard of Roger Reeves, most people, though he's been all over the net. Well, lo and behold, Robert Morrow told me that this is before I knew nothing about this, that in actual fact it was in 2004 Donald Trump who reported Epstein, because he went to Epstein's house, as told to Robert Morrow by Roger Stone, and he saw 9- and 8-year-old girls, young girls, playing in the pool. And Trump thought, he must have let the neighbors' kids in the pool. I thought, well, that's nice of Jeff. And I could see this. Apparently he was in there 5 minutes and he ran out, called Roger, and they both went to the FBI. And that was the first time Trump reported. I believe that. But even so, he's so weird. He's always getting Slovenian, Czechoslovakian, GRU, Eastern Bloc wives arranged for him by, Leon Black and Epstein. I mean, there's just so much. Where do we stop? Can we please just... But who to put in?
Isn't that ultimately...
rigged?
Isn't that ultimately, essentially, misdirection for us? Just to keep us from focusing on the reality of everything. We're not allowed to get close to the reality of what's being done to us, which is not good at all. And I don't have much hope for the American people in the future. I wish I did. How can they possibly better themselves with an education system like this, an alleged education system, when they're addicted to their smartphones for 7.5 hours a day. I call it terminal screen addiction, the real TSA. I just don't see it. I've never seen in history any people, I'll tell you there is an exception, any people brought back from ruin except for one group, and those were the Germans in the 1930s, when the government realized under Adolf Hitler that the people were the number one resource of the country and began to invest in the people. And by 1936-37, the German people were the happiest people, arguably. Well, they had mental scars from World War I, etc., the Versailles scars, but they were treated with utter respect. Vacations, all of the rest of it. When you invest in the people, apparently the rewards are... That's the only time I've ever seen it in history. Maybe there were other examples, but...
One condition, though, Jeff, unremitting obedience, and that's the problem. And I can
I'm
argue...
not sure they had to demand it. I don't think they had to demand it.
They did. I don't think it was all rosy. Don't get me wrong. I understand where you're coming from.
I think they knew where the only respect they were ever going to get at that level was coming from, and I think they went there essentially voluntarily. They weren't only, 10% in the military were even members of the party? Anyway, that's another discussion, but thank you for sharing that. That's how I see it. These people here in this country are being beaten down. We're about to enter not a recession, a depression, and I think you see it coming. These Americans are going to have it tougher than they've ever seen. Please do.
I have to push back, Jeff.
I'm very interested.
There's not going to be a depression. I've got to push back. There's not going to be a depression. The U.S. dollar is not collapsing. The Strait of Hormuz is about U.S. control, and the U.S. controls it. There's been no ships touch. It's all garbage. The U.S. runs that strait. Nothing moves without U.S. permission. Don't believe a word of it. It's about going after India and China and their oil and energy trade. Now Xi's visiting America. They're putting pressure on the Chinese because the Chinese do have some power, and also the EU. That's why they're doing the pipeline. They'll be able to control the EU via the pipeline, which goes up through Haifa and Syria, and via the New Belt and Road, which is the IMEC, the India, Middle East, European corridor. And two, now they put pressure on Xi Jinping and say, buddy, we're sitting on the straits. We will control the oil and the energy, because the trouble with China is the integrated supply chain is so powerful in China. Nuts, bolts, nails, let alone the high-tech stuff, is still made in China. And that's why Xi Jinping has some power. That's why the City of London and Starmer and good old Carney, the Bantam Rooston London banker, they're all pressuring and fighting, hoping that Trump will bend. And he's not going to bend. I'm telling you, there will be no depression. The AI bubble is not bursting. They've increased silicon wafer production by another 5 times.
I know that.
This is not,
the AI
this is
bubble
not
is
popping.
not going to burst.
Yeah, and look, it's worrying. I'm not saying it's all roses, but there is not going to be a collapse. Watch. The U.S. controls all the straits, all the choke points, all the cyber, the National Reconnaissance Office. Nothing moves. They're in everyone's critical infrastructure. The point is, they've had to do a deal with the whore of Babylon because they've just got too much dirt on them, and that's a problem. And I'm not telling you it's all wonderful, but in terms of America being strong, this is the foundation, and they are doing that. America is more strong than you can believe. Don't believe it? Wait and watch. I've tripled down on this for 2 years. There will be no depression, no one's starving, everything's under control. This is the great game, and it's incredible what's been done. The trouble is, once the foundation is set, man, there's a lot of things that have to be addressed, not least of Trump's corruption, not least Marco Rubio's
years and years of addressing. It's bad.
Yeah, the AI stuff, the robots, the drones, the battle management systems that can be turned on a counterinsurgency on the people. But I just believe that as long as human beings are involved in the power chain, they love their children too, Jeff, and that's what gives me hope. But I'm not denying things are tough. I'm not denying that. I'm not. And I have bad days too.
Yeah, I go back to Peter Thiel when he was in that recent interview, and the interviewer asked him, do you think the human species should survive? And he couldn't answer. He didn't answer. There's a long, long pause. And finally the guy asked him, I think the third time, he says, do you or do you not believe the human species should survive? He said, yes. So Palantir, people don't understand the power there. You're right. J.D. Vance is a puppet. You think he'll go in the next time then? They'll install him?
He'll probably get in, but I mean, the trouble with him is something more sinister than Palantir. And look, that just fronts. Peter Thiel's a half-wit. He's not as clever as people think. It's like, Apple, they were in their mummy and daddy's garage. That's all a lie. These people are chosen as actors like good old AOC.
They are.
DARPA, an adjacent society, hands them the technology. Xerox had all the technology for the mouse and the graphical user interface. They forced it and gave it to Apple. Then Bill Gates stole it off him. It's all a lie. They're all geniuses. Mike Howell, Anadrol, Lucky Palmer. He's just a half-witted actor. It's DARPA, adjacent society, the lodges, and and all the patents go back to the City of London when you look hard enough. All the patents.
All the patents do. That's funny. Yeah, that's funny. All right, we're out of time. Brendon, thank you for sharing your extremely vivid impressions of reality around here. It's always good to talk with you. Thank you. You keep at it.
Jeff, you're a legend. You're a living legend, and I say to people, you don't understand how long that guy's been around. You just don't get it. And they don't understand that you are the only person, Jeff. You jumped in. I mentioned Mary Silver's name, what she was doing. You were worried for her safety and said, I want her on. Let's just get her on. And I thought, how easy was that? How easy was that? You're the only one, Jeff, and you won't be forgotten.
Thank you, my friend. You be safe now down there. Okay. Take care. Good night,
watch out for the cheesecake. Thanks, Jeff. God bless you. Bye-bye.
All right. Brendon O'Connell, and you got to love one of a kind, and he is one of a kind. We will be back with more in just a few minutes. Hang on.
What is our common bond truly? Freedom. Freedom. Without freedom, you can't be a Christian no matter what denomination you belong to. You can't be a Buddhist. You can't own a donut shop. You can't drive from here to Oregon. You can't be an American because that's what it's all about, and that's the only thing that it's all about. Nothing else. Nothing else. It's about freedom.